Hello and welcome to the Voices of the Vic podcast with me, Ben Aiton, and Mike Duffy. We are back for another episode, and we're back to discuss Watford's 1-1 draw away at West Bromwich Albion in the Sky Bet Championship. Watford have maintained their unbeaten start to the campaign. I know we're only 2 games in, but 4 points out of 2 games. If you offered me and Mike that at the start of the season, we would have snapped your hands off. There's been lots of negativity about the performance last night, and rightly so. It was diabolical, especially about midfield. But me and Mike will dissect that all for you all now. So yeah, firstly, Mike, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Still a bit gutted about last night, to be honest. I know we weren't great, but we had the chance to win it in the end as well. Providing we would have held on had Sarr put that penalty away. But yeah, very underwhelming last night, and hopefully it's not a sign of things to come. But other than that, I'm all good. We don't have to wait long till the next game. They come thick and fast in this league, so and not long till I can finally attend one. Birmingham a week today. So yeah, look, I'm all good, mate.
Good stuff. So yeah, we'll jump straight into it. We've named the podcast episode today actually a point gain or 2 points loss. Looking at it, Mike, what do you think it is? Is it a point gained? Because West Brom are a decent side. We was under pressure an awful lot in that game, and we was very lucky to get a point in my eyes. But also, we had the opportunity towards the end of the game to win the match. So is that potentially two points dropped as well? Where do you sit on this?
I would say so. I mean, I was going to sit on the fence, but it'd be boring to do so. But to have that penalty chance, and it was a poor penalty from Sarr as well. I think he missed his last one against Manchester United, and he did similar against De Gea. So it's really disappointing. He went and scored from 60 yards, and then he couldn't finish from 12 yards. So really disappointing. That's not to say we would have held on. Who knows what would have happened? But we certainly would have had maybe more momentum and maybe seen the game out. So I would say, as a outfield player, you are more expected to score a goal at a penalty than miss one. David Seaman said once that if you're a goalkeeper, you're never expected to save a penalty, but if you do, you're a hero. So that shows the sort of pressure or lack of pressure on goalkeepers to save it. There's more pressure on the guy taking the penalty. So I'm going to have to say 2 points lost on that one. But we were poor. We were really, really poor.
Yeah, we were. Paul Wittenbury's popped up with a comment, and I think you're the same Paul Wittenbury that took your 2 children to the games last night and got Christian Capacelli shirts and Truce Econ. One of theirs, it was their first game as well. So what a game to attend to, not performance-wise, but to witness Sarr's goal from inside our own half. So I hope you had a fantastic time, Paul. But Paul said it feels like 2 points lost, but realistically, we should have got battered last night. All things considered, it's a strong point against a top side in the league, and echo as everything you just said, Paul. They've got really good players in that side. Yes, me and Mike both said if they get rid of Steve Bruce early on, we fancy them for promotion this season. But if anything, Mike, Steve Bruce really attacked that last night. He's got the championship experience in Jed Wallace and John Swift, which has added that creativity for West Brom now. In my eyes, after that performance from West Brom last night, they've gone up from being playoff hopefuls to maybe automatic contenders. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether I'd say automatic contenders. I mean, it was a brilliant performance from West Brom. Certainly something I didn't expect from a Steve Bruce side, which I think maybe surprised us Watford fans to see West Brom come out the traps like they did. That's not something you see from a Steve Bruce side. You ask any team that he's managed in the last 5-6 years, they will tell you that. We saw that at Newcastle, etc. So that's what surprised us. Jed Wallace, by the way, that guy can deliver a cross and a sixpence. Honestly, if they had someone that could finish, I was going to tweet about this, but then he went and bloody scored just before half time. If Carlin Grant could finish, he'd have walked away with 2 match balls. He'd have had 6 goals, 7 goals easily. But fortunately for us, he can't finish. But my word, if they were able to get someone in the door that's got a good record of scoring goals in the Championship, with Jed Wallace and John Swift, they've made some great additions there. So, yeah, I've got them down to finish 4th in my prediction table. I think they will get playoffs. But really, really surprised from the Steve Bruce sides to come out and attack us the way that they did. I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, well, we've just spoken about West Brom's performance briefly, but let's talk about that Watford performance last night, Mike. Underwhelming, I'd say. Disappointed, lackluster, midfield non-existent. Anything else you want to add to that, Mike? Because it was really poor, wasn't it?
I didn't think other than Sarr's goal, I didn't think that the attacking players, other than Pedro, I thought Dennis had a really quiet game, and I thought
Everything
Ishmael
Dennis touched went out of play, didn't it?
Yeah, that's what it felt like. I'm not going to put that down to him having a bad attitude. Like you said, there's so many negative Watford fans on sort of social media, but I think it was just a bad day in the office. For Dennis, unfortunately, not quite the performance we would have expect. At the end of the day, it's going to work in both our favours. The longer we keep him, we've got a superb player on our hands, and for him, he'll want to put in good performances so that a team comes in and buys him. So, you'd think that we scratch his back, he scratches ours, sort of thing. So, yeah, really disappointed with Dennis. Ishmael, other than the goal, I thought didn't really do an awful lot. I know a lot of people will say, well, he scored from bloody 60 yards. What more do you want him to do? But he did miss a penalty, and other than that, he was kept quiet. I must say, throughout the negatives, Ben, the positives, Pedro was superb, and so was Daniel Bachmann, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah, we'll get onto those two. But let's talk about João Pedro next, because I've got a little section for Dan Bachmann written down already, but João Pedro I haven't. But let's talk about that man now. The highlight for me last night was his work rate, his determination, the willingness to get back and help out in defensive areas. And talk to me about that little, what was it, 3 headers in a row where he dribbled past a few West Brom players and then he almost got into the box. But God, that boy's such a talent, isn't he?
Yeah, and I can't remember which podcaster said it on. You can go back and watch it. You can screen record it. I'll happily have that go out on the internet. He will be bigger than Richarlison. The only reason I'm saying Richarlison is obviously Richarlison come from us. He will go on to do better things than Richarlison. That boy is some talent, honestly. As you said, Ben, we've spoken about it before. I just love the way how he drops deep and sort of. We mentioned that the midfield was non-existent. It was lackluster. João Pedro and Rob Edwards obviously saw that. João was dropping deep, trying to be that creative flair, and then it ultimately pushed Ishmael and Dennis up as a front two at times, if you like, and then João Pedro was dropping into midfield, trying to get that sort of spark going and trying to make things happen and make things tick. But his work rate, his determination. One of the things that highlighted it for me, Ben, was that chance that we had where Pedro, he was nowhere near winning the ball and getting it back and playing it through. He just booted it off their player, and then Ishmael was through one-on-one. So his determination is brilliant, and long may it continue. He's going to be very, very key to our hopefully promotion chances this season.
Yeah, it's great to see that defensive side to him, but I'd love for him to focus a little bit more further up the pitch. But I don't think we'll see that until maybe either one of Sarr and Dennis go, and then we'll have to push him a bit further forward. But it's great to see his willingness to work for the team. It's great to see, but I'd like him to be a bit further up that pitch. But he's putting in the shift, isn't he? He's helping out his teammates, and definitely we needed that. Last night, our backs were up against the wall. First 15 minutes, weren't it, Mike? If it weren't for a certain Daniel Bachmann, we could have been 3-0 down, couldn't we? Fantastic save from Furlong to tip it over. Then Curlin Grant in the 6-yard box had a shot saved. Bachmann spread his legs, didn't he, and made himself as big as possible, like you'd see Kasper Schmeichel do. And it went past the post. And then there was another header, and he managed to push it round the post as well. So it was just opportunity after opportunity for West Brom, but Daniel Bachmann, vital saves last night, and he was showing why Rob Edwards has made him his Watford number one.
Yeah, and some people would argue that some of the saves as a keeper you have to be making, but I still think they were superb saves. You've got to put your body in the way. You've got to, go for these things, and he done exactly that. You mentioned that one, the Furlong from close range. A lot of people will say, well, it was straight at him, but I tell you what, the sort of power that would have been struck in that ball and the close range would have made it really hard to misjudge. And then the Karlan Grant one, he would have seen that last minute it was bobbling around, and then suddenly Carlin Grant's got it, and he would have seen that last minute. So yeah, some absolutely superb saves, and showing, sort of picking up where he left off really in the Championship. There was a lot of that whole debate last season, which we spoke about. It felt like almost every week, Bachmann or Foster. And now that we're back in the Championship, I think a few may have been worried that Bachmann didn't get the game time in the Premier League. So would he have to sort of start from scratch again, if you like, in the Championship? This has proven no. You asked the question the other week, has he proven his doubters wrong? I think he's just continuing to do so. And I loved his interview at the end of the game as well. Very passionate, very raw, very honest. And he's going to be a big character this season for us, 100%.
Yeah, I liked seeing his passion from the celebration of Ismail Assar's goal as well. And let's talk about that moment as well, Mike, because you and I have never really seen Watford players score from that distance. I think Chris Eagle's done it before, way down at Brighton, but to actually see it like that on the Sky cameras, and the amount of people who have watched it over the world. I was scrolling through Twitter afterwards, and there was thousands and thousands of retweets and likes and stuff, and I was like, yeah, Watford's in the big time again. Goal of the season contender. That not a contender for me, Mike. That is a goal of the season award winner, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be.
And amazing assist from Craig Cathcart as well. I must give him credit for that. But the way Ismail Assar, his first touch was incredible. He kind of stopped the ball dead, but also positioned it away from his body, so then he could run onto it, have another touch. Quick look up to see Button off his line, and my God, he was off his line. And the precision and the accuracy to just get that over his head was absolutely superb. David Beckham-esque, Mike.
Yeah, well, from, like you said, the technique to pull it off, superb. From the moment it left his foot, I thought this is going in. Like, firstly, I couldn't believe that he tried it. I thought he's obviously just spotted him off his line. He'll have a cheeky pop. We're not really carving out many chances anyway, so he's obviously fancied it. I thought, and then I saw the position of David Button, and I thought, that's in 100%. And I was watching it with the missus last night because she was here, and she couldn't quite believe it as well. And I said to her, I says, if you're expecting every goal to be like that, I says, you're going to be disappointed, because I'm taking her to the Watford Coventry game in November. I says, please don't expect that when we go in November, because most goals aren't like that. But yeah, it was something to behold. And like you said, it's great seeing everyone talking about it. My phone was blowing up from non-Watford fans and a few West Brom fans as well. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. Sort of got us in the driving seat, even though we didn't deserve it. But sometimes, if you play crap and still carve out chances like that and take them, it just shows the quality that we've got. We've got someone with the quality and ability of doing that and pulling it out of nowhere. And that's where we've not seen the last season. We've not seen someone be able to pull out that magic moment. And in terms of goal of the season award, the Second Tier podcast put a poll out saying we've already had some fantastic goal of the season contenders. And I'm not being funny, there's some good goals, but no one's beating Ishmael. No way. I'd be very surprised if someone was to beat that record this season. He's got to be winning it for me, even though it's early doors.
Yeah, Chris Willock scored an amazing goal for QPR at the weekend against Middlesbrough, the way he dribbled from his own half and shrugged off a couple of Middlesbrough players and banged it in the top corner. But I'm sorry, it's going to Ismail Assar, and I'm not saying that because I'm a Watford fan and this is a Watford podcast, but the technique for that, it was unbelievable. They showed a few examples after on Sky Sports. They showed like Charlie Adams did it against Chelsea the other year. Xabi Alonso did it for Liverpool. Wayne Rooney did it for Everton. And it was nice to see Ismail Assar getting in there. But the technique of it was absolutely superb. And Rob Edwards said the moment it left his foot, you just knew it was in because of the way he connected with the ball. And it was just fantastic. Joe Thomas has popped up and said he was there in 2006 when Chris Eagles scored from a halfway line. Superb to witness that moment, and I can imagine it was, and I imagine it was fantastic to witness last night. If he was in the away end for all those Watford fans, they must have gone absolutely crazy last night. But yeah, let's move on from Ismail Assar now, Mike. We've spoken about the positivities out of the game. Let's maybe talk about a bit of the negativities now. I don't want to talk about this guy in a bad way because you and me both like him, Mike. We love him as a player, his work rate. We like him as a captain. But quality-wise, he's not up to the standard that we probably want week in, week out in the Championship. And it's Tom Cleverley, Mike. Another, I think I definitely gave him the benefit of the doubt because it was the first game last week. And I thought maybe it was the first game, he'll improve. If anything, I thought he got worse last night against West Brom. I'm surprised he did 90 minutes. We all know that Tom Cleverley doesn't have 90 minutes in his locker anymore. He wasn't impacting on the game, and it's frustrating to see because Tom Cleverley gives absolutely everything for the cause, and he'll run through buses for the team, run through walls, and he's just last night. He wasn't there, Mike, was he? Sum up his performance from your point of view.
Well, I mean, he gave the ball away, and luckily they didn't do anything from it, but it carved out another chance for them and just created more pressure to them. And I think, yes, we've talked about how the hard work and the work rate of Tom Cleverley has been refreshing to watch when we were in the Championship before, but unfortunately, as we've said, he's not up to scratch at the moment. Whether he plays, I don't know, 60 minutes then comes off. I don't even know if he's warranted 60 minutes, to be honest. So I'd rather have, if we're going to have an experienced head, I'd rather have Dan Gosling in there, who apparently works his bollocks off in training. And, Dan Batman come out and said, if you saw the results of who was fastest, Dan Batman's winning everything on that, which surprises me. But yeah, I can see why he's chosen for his captain's value. He's got all the attributes you want, but I don't think he's someone that should be playing week in, week out. We could utilise him a lot better, considering the demands of the Championship Tuesday, Saturday, or bloody Monday, Friday, as it seems for us at the moment. But yeah, disappointed with Clevs. Really horrible to see because, as we've said, really, really do like Clevs as a person, but I think we need to freshen up that midfield. And as Pidge just mentioned in there, we need to stick an extra body in midfield because we're just getting rammed through. I mean, we were lucky. Sheffield United didn't really utilise the middle of the pitch, but West Brom obviously watched that and thought, right, let's hit them where it hurts, straight through the middle. And as Pidge has just said there, once Loser's back, that's going to be a welcome return. It really is. It'll be like a new signing.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be too long. I've seen more pictures of him out training, so fingers crossed it won't be too long. Joe Thomas has said he loves Tom Cleverley, but unfortunately just isn't good enough, and it seems anymore. He wears his heart on a sleeve, but Dan Gosling has to come in. Rob Edwards did say after the interview on Sky Sports that he's going to probably make a couple of tweaks to the team. I imagine that's going to be personnel. Mm-hmm. Looking at that team, Mike, do you see Tom Cleverley coming out, or do you see Tom Cleverley sticking in because he's captain? Because in my eyes, yes, he's got the captain's armband, but that doesn't mean you have to play every single game. If you perform poorly or not good enough or not up to the standard that is required in this league, then rightly so, you should be coming out the team, right?
Well, it happened to Troy. He got dropped a couple of times. If the manager's ballsy enough to do it, then it doesn't matter if he's your captain, he's your star player or what. If you're playing shit, you're coming out of the team. It's as simple as that. Footballers know that. They can throw a paddy all they want, but if you're performing poorly, I should say, then you don't warrant your place in the team. So, yeah, I would say that Tom Cleverley probably should be one of those. Whether it's a straight swap for Gosling, hopefully, whether that be it. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else really. I would
possibly Ken Sema and putting Kamara back over on the left. I've seen a lot of. To be fair, I want to address this. I've seen a lot of negative comments towards Ken Sema last night. I didn't think Ken Sema had a bad game. He was just run ragged and he was blowing out his arse. He did a lot of defensive work last night, and I thought he did an okay job. It was just they were double teaming up on him, and there was always that extra man, and he wasn't getting that defensive help from Emmanuel Dennis on that side to help him cover. So he had his work cut out a lot last night. So I'm not saying that Ken Sema had a good game at all. He just needed more help. But maybe it's right to put Kamara back over on the left. He does look a bit uncomfortable on the right, and rightly so. He's left-footed and he shouldn't be playing over on the right. So is that another change that you'd maybe make? Might put Kamara back over on the left and maybe bring Gaspar over on the right, because he came off the bench to make his debut.
Yeah, and I completely forgot about that. So thanks for reminding me. But yeah, Sema looked uncomfortable. Well, yeah, probably uncomfortable is the right word. As you say, they worked really well with their system. Wallace and Furlong, you've got Wallace who can put it on a sixpence every time he crosses the ball. And then you've got Furlong who's, again, brilliant crosser of the ball, very fast. So he didn't have the support that he perhaps should have had, Ken Sema. So he was getting absolutely annihilated down that left-hand side. So I would probably move Kamara over to his preferred left position, and then bring in Mario Gaspar for the right. But the only sticking point there would be, is he ready for 90 minutes? Is he ready to start a game? We don't know. But if he is, then absolutely, I'd make that change as well. But other than that, I think I would probably leave it as it is. So I would probably say the two changes would be Sema for Gaspar and then Tom Cleverley for Dan Gosling.
Yeah, and Paul Whittenbreeze just came up and said, what's happened to Ngakia? We spoke about playing younger players, and yet Ngakia has been cast aside despite being homegrown to sacrifice for Sema's place. I don't know if you saw earlier, Paul, but there's Hull City are linked with a move for Jeremy Ngakia, and a couple of weeks ago, Rob Edwards said that Ngakia was a couple of weeks behind on his fitness levels compared to everyone else because he picked up a knock in pre-season out in Austria. So that's probably why he hasn't featured yet, but it'll be interesting to see if this move materialises with Hull City. It would be a shame to see him go, because I think he's definitely good enough in the Championship. It's seeing Kiko leave, he must have been licking his lips thinking, I'm finally going to play a game. And then they brought in Gaspar, and then he's like, right, okay, now I've got to work for my spot again. So it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen with Ngakia. Mike, I think there's maybe one more change that we might have to do in the side as well. Don't know if you noticed, but Francesca Sirielta, he went off injured towards the end of the game. I'm not sure what the injury is. It's probably a muscle injury of some sort. And William Troost-Ekong came on. So, mate, that will probably be another
straight swap, isn't it?
Straight swaps. And Sirielta, I thought he had a decent game again. I really liked his recovery run back on one of the West Brom players into a box, wasn't it? And he made the defender check back him, and he stuck his toe in to get it away. And I thought that was brilliant. And he's so commanding as well. And he, like, the amount of long throws of getting into a box. And did you see that pink towel come out all the time from West Brom?
The old boy kept passing it to him, didn't they?
Yeah, what was that all about? Is he a season ticket holder, and they've gone up to him saying, "Hello, mate. On Furlong's side, every time there's a long throw, I want you to have this pink towel, and every time he comes over and wants a pink towel, I want you to hand it to him. He's going to rub the ball up, and then we're going to do Rory Delap style, throw it in, and don't worry, we'll score a couple of goals from it this season. You might even get a Sky Sports appearance." But yeah, it's a bit odd, wasn't it, that they actually got a fan to do that?
Yeah,
unless he's like that boy Scouts or something.
Yeah, it's a bit like that time when you're on a plane and you're in the extra leg room and you're right by the door, and they say, right, if this goes down, you're in charge of making sure everyone's, you're opening the door and everyone's going to run to safety. But yeah, it was weird. But I know a couple of the times it was down to West Brom's lack of being able to finish. I thought on a whole we dealt with it pretty well.
Definitely, yeah. I was actually surprised at the amount of them coming in, and they was getting more, weren't they? It was like every other minute we was getting it, and it was always down that right hand side. But I was actually quite impressed with how we defended that 6-yard box from the long throws. We did quite well. So yeah, hopefully long may that continue. But so William Troost-Ekong came back. I was actually quite impressed with his performance last night, Mike. It looked like he hasn't been away for a long time. He slotted straight back in, and he looked like the solid defender that we know that he can be in this division. And do you think he'll play a big part this season?
He's another one that's got a point to prove. He would have been aware of the social media abuse that he got from when he got dropped in the Premier League and when he lost his place, and the Nigerian fans were sort of wanted his head on a silver salver as well. So he'd have been aware of that. I don't know if it was documented that. I think he said that he had to come off social media or whatever it was. So he's definitely got a point to prove, and he'll want to, like Dan Backman, he'll want to prove him wrong by showing that he can still do it on the pitch. And like you said, he didn't really put a foot wrong that I can remember of when he come on, and he's a solid backup to have. I think the defence that we've got to call on, it's pretty solid for the Championship. Yeah, it's a bit on the older side, but experienced players that have done it in the Championship before. So yeah, I certainly wouldn't be annoyed that Troost-Ekong would have to come in. No way.
Yeah, and what it will do as well, obviously it'll be Troost-Ekong coming for Steerielta, and possibly Matty Pollock will get a push up onto the bench as well, which will help the rule of 11, which is causing problems for Watford. You can see it's causing problems for Watford because they're having to leave Maduka Okoye out, although we heard rumours yesterday that he picked up a knock and he didn't actually travel with the first team squad. But if he didn't pick up a knock and he was fit, he still wouldn't have been able to travel because of this rule of 11, and that's why Ben Hamer's getting that number 2 spot at the moment. But also there was no Vacuum Bio, Mike. He missed out as well, and you just got to think that Rob Edwards must be really frustrated at the moment with the amount of overseas players or non-homegrown players that he's got at Watford, but he can't fit them into this matchday squad because of the EFL rules. And it's frustrating for Watford fans as well, and I've seen a lot of unhappy Watford fans say this as well, whereas we've spent money on Okoye, we spent money on Bio at about 10-11 million pounds combined, but we spent in the last 6 months on the team to improve the team. They're not even in the matchday squad.
Yeah, it's poor planning on Watford's part. Gioretta come out and put that statement out to say, look, rule of 11, explained it all to us, explained we're going to try and get a few homegrown players in. I think that's what he said in the sort of statement he put out, or he at least said that the reason for some of the transfers is to abide by this rule of 11 to make it easier for Rob. But we're at square one again. Well, like you said, a couple of players there that we'd spent decent money on are having to miss out because of the rule of 11. So yeah, it's frustrating, and hopefully that pushes the club to make a few more homegrown signings. But at the same time, I'm not here to dig out the Potsos or anyone like that, because I've got a lot of time for what they've done for our football club. But a lot of it is still reliant, and I think people are forgetting this, on what Ismail Assar and Emmanuel Dennis, what happens to their situations. We're not going to go out and sign a striker or someone like that if we've still got them. So, you have to be clever. You can't go spending, wads of cash in the Championship or in any league and then it backfire on you. If we don't go up and we spend a load of money, we're going to be looking at possibly, doing a Leeds or a Leicester or a Forest, Southampton, go down to League One, or, it might sound a bit dramatic, but it happens. So, yeah, I think they're trying to be a bit coy, but obviously the rule of 11 thing, it's a bit of poor planning, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. And like you say, I think it is massively dependent on if we get any offers for Ismail Assar, any offers for Emmanuel Dennis, and then obviously they've got plans in the background on who they'd like to come in, but they can't make these moves until players are off their wage bills and we've actually got the physical money to spend. So there's no point spending the money when you've got people ahead of you already. So it'd be interesting to see what actually happens. But what I'd like to see is that money being spent on homegrown players, especially if you want to get this non-homegrown quota down, because we do have a lot still. I've seen today that Samir's potentially off to a Mexican side called the Tigers. So that'll be interesting to see if that pulls off, and obviously that will make it a bit more easier. But he's not been involved in the first 2 matchday squads. But there's been rumours about a homegrown player possibly coming in. Mike, it's a central midfielder, a Premier League midfielder, goes from Leicester City. Hamza Chowdhury. Would you welcome that signing? I think he's got a bit of presence to him, hasn't he? And he keeps the ball much more better. And I think it'll be more presence than what we saw last night between Tom Cleverley and Kembe.
Yeah, and I think just having a pair of fresher, younger legs in there as well, someone that's dying to play first team football, because he did sort of break through at Leicester at one stage, and then he hasn't done since. I can't remember who he played a couple of games for. So he'll be sitting at Leicester, not even getting in the squad. And if I'm wrong on that, please do correct me. But he'll be thinking, well, hang on a minute, I was getting in the squad, I was getting on the bench, I was making a couple of appearances here and there, and now I'm not even doing that. So he'll just be grateful for the chance of playing first team football, and he'll be in a side that are expected to be challenging for promotion. So that will also tick another list to satisfy him. He's young. I know Kayembe's apparently young. He's meant to be 24. Is he bollocks? But it will be good to have someone young in that.
Oh, I think we've lost Mike for a moment. So we'll just carry on. But yeah, Hamza Chowdhury linked with a move to Watford. The Daily Mail popped that up today, so it'll be interesting to see if that happens. I do think we do need a homegrown player to come into this squad, and like Mike said, it will help push on to get better performances out with players that are already in the team, just like Tom Cleverley. You've also got KMB, and they just need pushing on, don't they, to go to that next level. I think Mike's computer's crashed. He just messaged me, so I'll carry on. We haven't got much more left to go through anyway. So if you've got any questions, drop me down into the comments below and help me out a little bit here, because I'm going solo now. But yeah, also Ethan Laird, we heard last week from Adam Neventhal, who joined us on the podcast. He was saying we asked him about Ethan Laird, and he said that it's not one that's going to happen potentially anytime soon. If it is going to happen, it's going to be happening later on in the window, because Premier League squads need to assess their squads before they bring other people, because they're going to make signings and that. So they will then decide whether to let those on loan players go out again. So Ethan Laird, we've heard today, probably isn't going to be joining Watford now. The decision's been made to maybe let him move to Preston North End. I don't know if Watford have pulled out the deal or if Preston are just the better proposition for him at the moment. So that's a bit disappointing. Mike's finally back with me now, and welcome back, Mike. So I was just saying that Ethan Laird, it doesn't look like he's joining Watford now. So potentially that's another homegrown right back that we might have to look for now.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. I'm not really sure what's happened. When we spoke to Adam the other week, he seemed pretty sort of certain that it was in the motions of happening, and various reports have said that as well. But I think Preston might have a link with Manchester United and a bit of a parent club, if you like. So they've obviously
they've had their players in the past, haven't they? Because David Beckham, he went out on loan, didn't he, back then? And I think a few other players as well. Did Darren Ferguson used to manage Preston?
Not off the top of my head. I've only ever known him at Peterborough, possibly Wrexham.
Let us know below, anyone, if he has managed at Preston. I think he possibly has been at Preston, and that's where the links originally started from.
But it's disappointing. He seems highly rated from Manchester United fans. We popped the tweet out on our social media when it first broke, and a couple of Manchester United fans were like a bit annoyed that he was coming to us after the whole James Garner saga and saying that he's a very good player. So yeah, disappointed. Whether the signing of Mario Gaspars had anything to do with it, I don't know, but I shouldn't have thought it would have affected it too much. But yeah, disappointed that we're after now going to go and have another look, really, unless Rob's decided that Gaspar's the right man, and Ken Sema and Kamara are strong enough wing backs. Who knows? But I personally will be going out and having another look alongside with. I don't know if you mentioned it when my hamster stopped running on his wheel for my internet to go off, but I don't know if you mentioned the left-sided centre back. I think we desperately need one of those as well.
Yeah, no, I didn't mention that, but that is a key area. And I just feel like we need this progressive centre-backs really to help us progress up the pitch and get the ball out quicker, because we haven't got that at the moment. We just look to hit it long, because the central defenders we've got don't look comfortable with the ball at their feet. So someone like Clark, who at Brighton, Hove Albion, he's potentially being looked at as well. And Courtney Hawes as well. at Aston Villa, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So it's refreshing to know that Watford are looking into those areas, because we can definitely see that needs sorting out. So fingers crossed, Watford will pull out their checkbook and sign some players, whether it's on loan or permanent contracts. We do need additions to his squad, because after watching last night's performance, it's not a side that can compete for automatic promotion or playoffs at the moment. It's the midfield for me, Mike. That midfield, I might be generous to say that's a mid-table championship side midfield.
Yeah, it's not what we want. I don't think it is the finished article, to be honest. We've got Loser to come back. That's going to be a massive, plus. We've got Dan Gosling as well, who can come in, and we've seen João Pedro dropping deep. We just need our players to be all singing off that same hymn sheet. But if we can make a couple of changes, maybe bring another midfielder in, that would certainly sort of freshen things up. But at the moment, the midfield is definitely the weak area so far from what I've seen in the two games, and they could cost us a couple of points. But hopefully the Pozzos are aware of it, and hopefully Rob is aware of it, and we make the changes necessary, or we bring the necessary players in. And I mean, I wouldn't go as far as saying I don't think the team's capable of making playoffs. I think with the attacking prowess we've got, I think we will create chances. I know we didn't last night, but I think put that down to a bad day at the office, first away game or whatever. Get your mistakes out the system early doors. And as we said, West Brom are going to be up there as well. So, it's not as if we were struggling to break down a Rotherham United side. But I think we can make playoffs at least. But I think we're a couple of signings off, maybe even challenging for automatics. But yeah, I'll stick with my prediction of where I thought we were going to finish.
Yeah, well, when your hamster stopped working at your end, Mike, I was asking the viewers to help me out a little bit and ask for some questions. So Paul Whittenbury's, thank you, Paul, for saving my bacon here. He came up with a question saying, based on the first two games, where do you think we'll finish the season? So Mike's already said, so you're sticking with that, Mike. You're going with fourth or fifth still in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think I said fifth, but playoffs, generally playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, judging off the first two performances, I think it all depends on this transfer window. We've still got 3 weeks left, haven't we? But based off the two games that we have witnessed, I don't think it's good enough for the playoffs. And I know we beat Sheffield United and it was a really good, solid performance. But that away performance at West Brom, yes, they stuck together and grinded out a draw in the end. There was lots of worrying signs for me in that. And that's that midfield area, and I hate to keep going back to it. And it's the Tom Cleverley and KMB. Yes, KMB showed signs of brilliance, like his the last couple of games. He's found like a really nice ball through the middle, and we need to see more of that because we haven't got that attacking creativity at the moment. So he's trying to provide that, and I think it only came off once last night, but when it did come off, it was a quality bit of skill for him. I think it was either one who set Sarr away to win the penalty. I'm not too sure, but it was good to witness. I think if it stays like this, the squad that we've got now, I think it will just fall short of the playoffs. If we get in the right players in the right positions, I think we can finish playoffs. I'm not going to say automatics or anything, but I do think we can finish playoffs if the right additions are made.
I think it's key to point out as well, Ben, that I tweeted it and had a couple of responses which generally on the whole sort of tended to agree with what I was saying for once. But if we're talking about how badly we've played, and we did, we've acknowledged that we've been poor against West Brom. But if you look at it from a sort of step back and look at a bigger picture, if you like, we've gone to a West Brom side who we're expecting to go, challenge for promotion this season. We've still not got in all the transfers that we perhaps want to. We've still got a few players who we expect to leave. So whether they're 100% focused on Watford, we don't know. On the whole, we've played poorly and we've come away with a point. If you average 2 points a game, if you average sort of points per game, you're going to end up winning. You're going to end up getting promoted. I think John Parslow put a tweet out saying he averaged 2 points a game or whatever. It's 94 points, and 94 points. You win in the league on those sort of points tallies, and the fact that we played so poorly but still come away with a result, they're the ones that we'll look back on in the future and say, remember that West Brom game where we were shit but we still drew, and that could be the difference.
And this is a sign of a good team as well. If you can come away from, I know the performance has been highlighted a lot because there was a lot of unhappy Watford fans based on that performance. We didn't like what we saw, but looking at the bigger picture, coming away from West Brom, being absolutely battered in that first half. Yes, we scored a fantastic goal from Ismaila Sarr, but to be fair, we could have been 3 or 4-1 down at half time. West Brom continued to press us in the second half and had some really good chances as well. Yes, we missed a penalty as well, but West Brom took those chances because they did absolutely batter us. They had so much possession. They had really good clear-cut chances. A point's not too bad away at West Brom. And like you say, Mike, a point away at West Brom, we'll take that all day long. 4 points out of the first 2 games. If that was offered, we would have snatched your hand up.
I think we did a score prediction, possibly. I don't know if we did, but we spoke privately before the game, and
you and me both went 1-1, didn't we?
We both said 1-1. So going into the game, we'd have taken a point, especially now that we know we were going to play so poorly. But I always go back to that Leicester team that won the league. You look at teams that win the Premier League, like Man City's, Liverpool, brushing teams aside with ease. That Leicester team that won the league, and I'm only saying this because it's relevant to what we're saying here, they weren't brushing teams aside 3-4-0 every week. They were getting through. They were getting 2-1s, 2-0s, 1-0s. And, the season that they won the league, they beat us 2-1 at Vicarage Road, so they hardly battered us. And it's about grinding out those results, even when you're playing poorly and still picking up points. The confidence in that changing room will be a lot higher than people think. I'm just so thankful that Watford Twitter aren't in charge of the dressing rooms, because it'd be a gloom place. It really would. You'd think we lost 7-0 with some of the stuff that I saw, but we've got some, after Burnley, we've got some more on paper winnable games coming up. Famous last words as always, and if we can get out of these first 3 with a decent points tally, then we'll have done really, really well.
Yeah, and Joe Thomas said it was a terrible performance and got a point at a team where that's going to be up there at the end of the season. It's a decent start, and we've got to ground out, and we've ground out a good result. There's positives, and fans have got to see the bigger picture. We're only 2 games in, and spot on, Joe. Also, I just want to say before we wrap it up, just give Rob Edwards time. He's only managed in football for 1 whole season at Forest Green Rovers. He's new to it still. He's learning on the job. He would have learned so much from yesterday's performance. He tweaked that second half performance. I know he delayed substitutions, but he did tweak positional wise on the pitch, which did stop West Brom absolutely battering us halfway through the second half. So he is learning. So let's just give him a bit of credit. Mike, do you echo that as well? Like we can't jump on his back. We're all in this together. We've got to give him time. We all said before the start of the season when he was appointed, let's give him time. We don't care about the performances. Let's give him time. He's going to get his philosophy ahead. Let him bring in some decent players and let him gel this team. And what we have seen lately, Mike, is he has gelled the team together. There's a togetherness between the squad now. That was non-existent last season, but he's managed to gel them now. So he's got the foundations in place. The performances will come. We just need to give him time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you can't win with Watford fans sometimes. Watford fans moan about the trigger-happy Pozzos and say we need to give coaches more time, and we get a young, enthusiastic coach like Rob Edwards in, and I know they don't represent truly Watford fans, but you're seeing some idiots on social media saying Rob Edwards out, he's clearly out of his depth. I'm like, come on, man! Like you've people been moaning about giving a manager time. We said at the start of the season, and I'm sure a lot of people would have realised this as well. If we want to give him as much time as we say, and he wants to build a project here at Watford, we are going to have to take the rough with the smooth. There are going to be months where we hardly pick up any points. There are going to be times where we, you know, we lose 2-3 on the bounce. It's going to happen. It's a championship. It's the toughest league, cruelest league in the world. So, it's going to happen, and we just need to be patient. And I'm sure we will, see the benefits in the long run. And look, Rob's changed the philosophy, and he's trying to change the way that we play and everything else. And there are signs there, and that's all we want. We just want to see passionate performances. I know we didn't see that last night, but we still come away with a point. So, as you said, Ben, we'd have took 4 points from the first 2 games. 100% we would have done.
Exactly. Yeah, we've found positives out of it, haven't we, Mike? I know it was difficult too, but we've found positives, and we'll just wrap it up from two comments from our viewers that have been watching tonight. Firstly, we'll come to Joe Thomas again. He said, quick mention for Edwards yesterday. I thought it was class for him getting every single player to go over to the away fans to show their appreciation. Brilliant management and showing passion early, and completely agree. It's great to see, and you would think that the players would just do it off their own backs anyway, and it's frustrating to see them being told they have to go over and do it. But fair play to Rob Edwards, because that's what we've wanted. We've not seen it for a very long time, so hopefully it continues. And like Paul Whittenbury saw yesterday, he had 2 players come over to him to hand him 2 shirts to his 2 children. So he must have been buzzing last night, and they must have been buzzing. I imagine they probably didn't go to sleep very well last night, because they was probably cuddling their jersey last night. But we'll just finish on Paul Whittenbury's comment as well. He said, I think the reason for the negativity is because the poor performances stunk last season. However, 4 points from 2 is promotion worthy. Positive signs are there for sure, and we've got this. Come on, you Orns. And yeah, I'm going to wrap it up there. So thank you everyone for joining. If you're watching this back on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And I will be back at the weekend. Mike might not be able to join me this weekend. We will see. If not, I will be back, and I'll find someone to come on with me. So stay safe, everyone, and come on, you Orns.